In this video, we're going to work on the ALEKS problem called using the Pythagorean theorem to find a sine, cosine, or tangent ratio in a right triangle. This problem is going to give you a right triangle with two side lengths provided. It's going to identify a particular angle and tell you what trigonometric property it wants you to calculate for that angle. For my problem, it's asking me to find the cosine of that angle. And notice that it says to give an exact value, not a decimal approximation. That means that it wants this in terms of a fraction, not a decimal. There's two things that we're going to have to remember in order to solve this problem. The first is the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. In this equation, the long side of the triangle is the c squared. So in terms of the Pythagorean theorem, that's going to be my c side length. And then the other two side lengths are a and b, and it doesn't matter how you assign them. It could be either way. The two shorter sides are going to be A and B. So we're going to need to use that to help us calculate the side length for B. The other thing that we're going to have to remember are the trigonometric relationships. SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA, which gives us the relationships between sine, cosine, tangent, and the opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse sides on a triangle. For this particular angle, the one that we're trying to figure out, our opposite side is the side that has a side length of 12. I'm just going to label that as O. And then for the other two sides, the longer of the two is our hypotenuse, and the shorter one is the adjacent side. The cosine, which is what we're trying to find, is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. We know that the hypotenuse has a length of 13, but we don't know the length of side A or B, whichever variable you want to use. So we've got to start by figuring this side length out. And we're going to do that using the Pythagorean theorem. A squared, my value of A is 12. B squared is an unknown, so we're going to leave that as b squared equals c squared. C is 13. B squared is 13 squared minus 12 squared. And I'm going to get my calculator out to solve that. 13 squared minus 12 squared is 25. B squared is 25. So that side length B is 5. I'm just going to write that on there. And then to solve for my cosine of that angle theta, the cosine, which we have is kind of hidden a little bit over here, is the side length A, the adjacent, which we just determined is 5, over the hypotenuse, which is 13. So the cosine of theta is 5 over 13. Remember that ALEKS wants you to give this as an exact value, the fraction, not the decimal approximation. So don't work the math out. Don't do 5 divided by 13. Just enter it in this fraction form.